Now, let me ask you a question. Have you ever met a recording artist? Tell me, do you know what it takes to produce a record, to write a record, or to perform live? Have you ever wanted to know what inspires someone to make music? Would you like to learn why making music is so very, very exciting? Can you imagine the discouragement that comes with the recording industry? Now, let me ask you, have you ever heard about 3 songs called Nothing to Hide, I Love to Love You, and Back and Forth? Or better yet, would you like to meet someone who has some of the answers that we're looking for today? Now, are you ready to learn how to be successful and how to enjoy music more in the pop genre? If you can answer yes or maybe to any of these questions, then you are in the right place. And I would like to welcome you to January Jones Sharing Success Stories. Today, I will be introducing you to my guest, who is a very successful artist. He will provide us with wonderful information and inspirational lessons and some really, really great advice. I'm pleased to announce that this show is now live on Talk4 Media, syndicated on iHeart Radio Talk with over 55 million subscribers. We are archived 24/7 for your listening pleasure at iHeartRadio. Also, LinkedIn announced that my profile was one of the top 5% most viewed last year. Now it's time for you to sit back and relax as you enter the no wine zone. Pour yourself a glass of wine and don't do any whining. Then have some cheese and crackers and lots of chocolate. Let me tell you now about our guest today. He is finally releasing his long-awaited and eagerly anticipated first solo music album in November 2014. His music has received rave reviews so far, and he relishes this chance to pursue his lifelong dream. His unique sound has been described by industry insiders as an emotionally powerful vocal style, masterfully united with music that is a fusion of classic 80s rock, blended modern soft rock, and pop music. He currently has over 1.4 million Twitter and Facebook followers and is rated number 4 on Reverberation in the pop genre. He performed at the Toronto Music Festival in May with his band and sold out to a live audience, with recorded hits and new tunes waiting to be released every single month until the day he dies. His music screams success. It's my pleasure to welcome to the show today, Sarantos. Hi, Sarantos.
Hi, January. How are you?
I am so fine, and I have been listening to your music all day. I love it, and I can see why you are so successful. Would you share with us the story behind your name, Sarantos?
Absolutely. Well, first, I just want to say thank you for having me on the show, and I want to thank all your listeners for tuning in. The name Sarantos, when I thought a little bit about what I wanted to name myself, obviously I thought about using my real name. I thought about different stage names, and I decided to use Sarantos because I am of Hellenic American descent, and Sarantos is Greek for my real name, which is Sam. So I thought it'd be kind of an interesting stage name that most people will not have heard of, and it's when I searched on Google and iTunes and all over the place, really there was no traction with it. And I don't think that's because people would hate the name. I just think because no one ever really did anything with that name. So that's why I chose it.
Okay. Well, you're the first person I've had on the show who is Greek, and very proud of your Greek heritage. Tell us a little bit about your success story, how it began, where you were raised, and who your early mentors were.
Sure. You know, basically I'm from the Chicago area, and I've been here my entire life, so I'm a Midwest kid. For lack of a better term, I do have a day job, and the music thing is something I've always wanted to do, and my heart was always on my mind. And my father passed away about 3 years ago from lung cancer. And at that time, you know, it was a very emotional time for me, and obviously I got through it, and there's not a day goes by that I don't think about my father. But after that, I really realized that life is short, and I really have to pursue my dream. That was kind of the first thing that kind of kicked my butt into gear to just really give it a shot. And obviously it took about a year or so to get everything together, get the music together. That was kind of the first move, and I definitely wish I would have done it a lot sooner.
Oh, sure. Now, did you, as a child, were you musical? Did you play instruments? How did you acquire this talent for music?
The short answer is that my parents did not play any musical instruments, and my first love was always lyrics. So I was probably about, first, second grade. I loved words. I loved putting them together. And probably by fourth grade is the earliest I can remember that I wrote a song. And obviously it wasn't as good as the ones I'm writing now, but I just kept pursuing it. I kept writing, and my parents always encouraged music. So we listened to all sorts of American music, some Greek music, and it was always on our minds. And, we were encouraged that it was okay to sing, it was okay to dance. Even though they didn't play any instruments, it was always accepted, and it always made me feel good. To me, I think music is life. And I think I always got the sense when I was down, music could cheer me up. Music could help me empathize and put myself in other situations and kind of see things from different points of view. So I think all that was very important growing up, and it made me who I am today.
Could you share with my listeners what it was like people watching in your family's restaurant?
So I grew up in a typical Greek-American restaurant. It was a family restaurant, and I did pretty much everything in there. I washed dishes, I cooked, I was a waiter, I was a cashier, and it was very interesting because I would talk to everybody, and I was a pretty social kid, but it was just interesting, all sorts of walks of life, from people that talked a lot to people that were quiet. It really gave me a nice exposure into the modern world because you go to grammar school and then high school, you're just exposed to that environment. But in my dad's restaurant, I got to meet people from all sorts of walks of life, people that worked in the finance industry or banking industry, people that worked in it was a great exposure, and I'm very happy I had it.
Oh, it sounds like a marvelous childhood. It brings me back to that wonderful movie, My Greek Wedding.
Yeah. We don't use Windex, but otherwise, yeah, that was a great movie.
And do you live next door to your parents?
No, I do not. I think that movie, the reason it did so well was it just, the whole immigrant story, you could take any nationality almost, they could relate to that movie. So I thought that was a great movie because it resonated with a lot of different cultures.
Oh, absolutely. It was fabulous. And, we're going to share something very fabulous with our listeners right now. We're going to hear one of your songs that you wrote and composed, Nothing to Hide. Sit back and relax. Welcome back with my wonderful guest, Sarantos. And Sarantos, that song is fabulous. I loved it, and I know my listeners enjoyed it too. Now, tell us a little bit about your career as a singer. Is this a career for you, or is it just a hobby that you do in your spare time?
No, it's definitely a career. Like I mentioned earlier, I do have a day job, and if my music career continues to grow, I would have absolutely no problem committing to it full time and touring around the world. So I don't want anyone to worry about that.
I'm sure anyone out there who has the kind of talent that you have would certainly agree with you that this definitely should be your career. It sounds like a wonderful career. Now, what are you trying to do with your music? Are you trying to get rich? What is your goal? Are you helping your community? How is this working out for you?
The short answer, and it's pretty simple, but I guess I have two goals. My first goal is to get my music out there into the world internationally and just let everyone listen to it and hopefully appreciate it. My second goal is to try to raise as much money for charity as I can. So we talked a little earlier about my father who passed away a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. And what I decided to do, I do want to release a song every day until the day I die. And I'm just picking a different charity each month and donating a third of the profits to each charity. So the song that you just heard, Nothing to Hide, the double meaning to the song, there's several innuendos in it, but for me personally, I chose the American Lung Association as a charity because I suffered from asthma. And up until a year ago, I had to take some steroid inhalers, albuterol. Asthma is sometimes an embarrassing thing, and I felt like asthma is not something you should have to hide, and your inhaler is not something you should be embarrassed to take in public if you needed to breathe. Mm-hmm. So that was the reason I chose that charity for that song. And each song has, like I said, a double meaning and a reason I chose that charity. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do.
Oh, yeah. And obviously you've discovered your passion. And we talk about that a lot on this show because this show is all about success stories. And when a person discovers their passion, as you said, you love what you do and it doesn't seem like it's work at all, and money isn't an issue. You're so happy doing what you do. And you want people who listen to your music to sing, dance, move to the groove, and play the song over and over again. Could you share with us some of the other charities that you sponsor?
Absolutely. So the first song, Not Where I Want to Be, the charity for that one is American Cancer Society because, again, I don't think cancer is where anyone wants to be. Again, there are a lot of charities, but I don't want to leave any out, but there are so many. So the third song, Back and Forth, was the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Oh, okay.
The fourth song, I Love to Love You Too, is the American Heart Association. The fifth song, I'd Give Anything, is St. Jude. So there are a lot of very reputable charities, from the American Red Cross to some that are a little more personal and hit home. And I'm very open to charities, so I have fans and other types of personalities that send me suggestions. So since I do want to do this forever, if there's any charity you or your listeners can recommend, I'd be very happy to dedicate a song, second CD, third CD to it. So I'm open.
Okay, wonderful. And during our third segment, we're going to share your website information and share with our listeners how they can contact Sarantos. Now, share with us a little bit about your career. Have you ever performed live? How did it feel? Were you terrified?
You know what? I actually was not. And
really?
My first live performance with this band was at Toronto Music Festival. And it was great. It was not concert in front of like 100,000 people, which I would love to do. So if anyone out there would like me to perform to a huge crowd, I'd be willing to do it. And it was great. I was not nervous at all. It was something I feel like I waited for my entire life. Given a lot of talks and public speaking, and I'm usually very good at that, but sometimes I have been occasionally nervous, but for the concert, I was not nervous at all, and I just really feel like I was just born to do it, and it was great, and I can't wait to do it again. And there's some,
I'm sure.
there's some things I'm working on. So there was a contest called Rock Revival on Facebook that I won the fan vote, and I'm waiting to see if they're going to invite me to perform at the House of Blues. And there's some different contests and things I'm kind of getting into, so hopefully I can perform soon.
Share with us what it was like to put a band together. Did you have auditions? How many people are in your band, and how did that come about?
The solo music artist, to be quite frank, that is definitely the hardest part. And the reason for that is when I create my music, most of the time I start it on a computer with a program like Logic, and all the lyrics I write, as it comes together, then I will hire out a great guitarist to record live the guitar part, and then I kind of put it back together and mix it. And for a band, it was a great big challenge because, to be honest, again, 2 weeks before the Toronto Music Festival, for the people that follow me on social media, the band I had pulled out. So here I was 2 weeks before the Toronto Music Festival, and the band that had been working with me for a month, and the music director had everything set, and I kept saying, when are we going to practice? When are we going to practice? They bailed on me. So here I was 2 weeks before, and I had no band, and obviously I didn't want to pull out of that venue. So I did put different things out on social media, and basically got the word out that I'm looking for a band, and I was lucky enough to find a band that is together that doesn't have a singer. They're kind of a jazz band. And basically we kind of put together the show, and it was great. Since then, I have kind of done auditions, and I'm still kind of in the process, but I am trying to finalize, hopefully this month, the full band, and hopefully they'll stay with me. Now, I understand they have other – well, you can't tell, because if they're not vested in your music, you know, they don't own the music. You're basically just paying them for each gig they perform and for even rehearsals. It does make it challenging until you make it big. So
we're going to hear another song, and it's called I Love to Love You with Sarantos right now. You've been listening to the powerful, passionate Sarantos. Sarantos, could you share a little bit about your website and how people can contact you, and also share with us your plans for the first Tuesday of every month and thereon?
Absolutely. So the website is melogia.com, which is www.melogia.com. And in Greek, it means with words, so that's why I chose that. My name is spelled Sarantos, Sarantos, and I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, YouTube. If you just do a Google search or Yahoo search for Sarantos, I'll pop up number one. And I'd love for the fans to interact with me. I take care of all the social media myself, so anyone who puts a comment on a video on YouTube, messages me on Facebook, I respond back myself, and I love doing it. So I look forward to any interaction with the fans.
Okay, and now share with us about releasing a new song on the first Tuesday of every month, and tell us what the other Tuesdays are going to look like for us.
Sure. So what I wanted to do is thought of the traditional model, and what most artists do or rock bands is they release a CD every 3 years. They promote it, you hear about them, and then they kind of drop off the face of the earth for a couple of years. And I didn't want to do that. So what I wanted to do is I wanted every week to interact with the fans. So I think my fans already know that every first Tuesday of the month they're going to get a brand new song. The second Tuesday of the month they're going to get a brand new music video. The third Tuesday of the month they're going to get a funny video of the month, which is usually just I have fans send me all sorts of crazy videos, and I kind of pick the best one and make it the winner. And there's a nominal prize and a free download and CD and some perks for them. And the fourth one is a whiteboard video that I kind of made and put on YouTube. And there's also going to be a surprise in a couple months. I'm going to start something that is very unique that I guess your listeners will be the first to hear about. It's going to be actually every month I'm going to release a chapter, which is about 20 pages of a fiction fantasy book that I'm putting together, and it's going to be related to each song. So I know I'm a little bit behind, starting 7 months behind, but I'll catch up by the end of the year, and then starting next year, every month you're going to get this. And it's very unique and cool, and I don't know of any musician or writer who's ever done anything like it. And I really think hopefully the fans will look forward to that also. It
sounds amazing. My question is, do you ever sleep?
Not really. You know,
not really.
You said earlier when you don't consider it work. I mean, if I stay up till midnight or 1 and get up at 5 in the morning, I just love doing it. The hardest thing is just, I guess, when you're not doing it for the money, sometimes you almost feel like you have to convince people of that, because when you talk to people, they're like, yeah, sure, you're not. But the truth is, I'm not. I really haven't made almost anything from this. I've put in a lot more than I've made, but yet I still want to do it forever. So hopefully that kind of resonates at some point with people.
Well, I think you and I are probably both in the same corner when it comes to money and our careers.
Yeah, but that's okay. If you love doing it, it doesn't matter.
At this point, I don't need to do it for money, but don't tell my sponsors that. And you know what? I'm going to send you. I'm going to definitely send you a funny video because I use it in all my promotions, and it's a video of the talking dog Zoe speaking of January Jones. So that'll give you a laugh. That'll give you a laugh for sure.
Okay, now, absolutely.
What tips do you have for independent artists, people who want to do what you're doing?
I get asked that a lot, actually, and the biggest piece of advice I can give them, and it sounds so simple, but don't quit your day job. And it's not trying to be negative or pessimistic. It's just trying to be realistic. And I think you can definitely put your music out there. You can make videos. You can do everything your heart desires. But me personally, I didn't move to L.A., abandon all my friends, and just kind of think, okay, I'm going to make it. So I kept my day job. I kept working. I do it on the side. It doesn't really affect my life where people are like, hey, he didn't show up to this particular event because he's always doing that. I mean, certainly you'll miss some things, but I think, again, you can pursue your dream and your passion, but you just got to be realistic. And I'm certainly not trying to discourage anybody. I just don't want people to feel like they wasted 5 years of their life touring all over the United States, playing at bars for like 3 people, and then they're miserable. But go for it. My second piece of advice is absolutely positively, I don't care how old you are, I don't care what you're trying to be, whether it's a musician, an actor, whatever it is, go for it. Some people will never understand a creative person's mindset and why because you're really being vulnerable when you're speaking in public, singing in public, acting in public, and people sometimes don't understand that, and some people will never take that kind of chance, but you only live once, and I think you should definitely go for it. It doesn't matter how talented you think you are, you don't think you are, you got to give it a shot. You don't want to have regrets.
Oh, I agree with you completely, and especially in today's age with the technology that we have available. I always tell authors, I wrote my first book when I was 50 years old. Never thought I'd be able to write a book, and now it's getting easier and easier with the Internet, and I'm sure it's the same thing for music. Don't you agree?
Yes, I do. And the other thing I kind of was shocked when I heard this, which I'm not sure if you know, but 33% of all the songs on iTunes last year have been bought less than one time. And then I think it was on Spotify, 4 million songs on Spotify have never been heard, not even once. So people just need to understand that just because you get your music on iTunes, you would think at least the artist would buy it. So if a third of the songs have been bought less than once, sometimes people think, okay, it's out there and I'm just going to get discovered. That's not true. Viral videos, it takes work and effort, and it might not catch on for years after you release it, but you got to just keep working at it.
And, that's exactly the same thing. I have so many authors who come on, and we talk about that a lot. Just because you have a publisher doesn't mean you have a bestseller. If you don't get out there and market it, nothing will happen. And what about the social networks, Facebook and Twitter, and how do you think they've affected your industry?
I guess I'm very thankful for them because first when they start with MySpace and that kind of fell off, and now Twitter and Facebook, and the advantage for someone like me who's not with a big label, who's unsigned, it's really hard to compete with the labels. They put millions of dollars into marketing their artists, and marketing works. How many times have we heard a song and we're like, that's not that great, but after you hear it 100 times, it grows on you. And the truth is, social media at least enables you to, if someone likes your post, if you post, when I post, again, I do it all myself. I try to be real. I don't, when I get on an interview or on Facebook or Twitter, it's not me saying, oh, here's my persona and my hair looks like this and my style. I'm real. I say what's on my mind. Obviously, I avoid politics and religion.
I
really, I'm not scared to put a funny picture on there or if I read an article in USA Today, again, I'm not slandering anyone. I'm not insulting anyone. But the truth is they're finding out about me, where if they meet me on the street and they talk to me, they will actually know my sarcastic personality from the videos and from the social media. So that's the advantage. Now, the disadvantage, I think, nowadays, the trend is kind of reversing where really it's marketing, and you really need to put a bunch of money into it. So I think the playing field is not where it used to be, and I fear for that because now if you want to pay, you can have millions of YouTube views and millions of followers, but it's sad to see that. But like any industry, you kind of knew that was going to happen.
Yeah. Certain, you could see it coming. You see it in the book industry too, publishing. What excites you most right now about what you're doing with this new career you're creating?
I think the thing that excites me the most is that I can do whatever I want. And I mean that very simply in that if I want to experiment and say, okay, I just released a rap hip-hop song, I could. I don't have a label saying, no, you should stick to soft rock and pop music because that's your genre and that's your sound. I can experiment. I can experiment vocally. We talked about I want to stay in constant touch with the fans, but I also really don't want the fans to get bored of me. So if you listen to some of the songs, if you listen to how I sing them, one song is more high-pitched, one is more low, one is kind of depressing, one is somber. So I try to vary my singing style as well as the music itself because at the end of the day, I'm not foolish enough to think that people are going to love every single song I put out there. But if I can have 0.1% of the world like my style and my music, well, I'm going to be a superstar. And I can raise a lot of money for charity and hopefully do a lot of good in the world.
Oh, yeah. I love your message. It's very mystical and spiritual. Now, what do you get discouraged about? Because is there any way to track the return on this big investment you're making?
No, there really isn't. And that probably is the most discouraging thing because people that are in the business world are just so many different industries. If you want to spend $100 advertising on a different venue, whether it's Google AdWords or the Yellow Pages or something, you can track your return on investment. You can say, wow, I had 200 people buy my song. In the music industry, the most frustrating part for me is for a small artist like me, you really don't know who to trust. And the labels, on the one hand, sometimes can get a bad reputation because the artists think they take all their money and they tell them what to do and they don't let them be creative. But on the flip side, you're kind of in limbo and you're trying to figure out, okay, if I have $200 a month, what am I going to put it into? And you really don't know because you can't track anything. iTunes is not going to tell you how many people bought your song. They're not going to let you track that. So unfortunately, a lot of people take advantage of a lot of artists out there, and they tell them, I'll get you promotion, I'll do this, that, and you really don't know if it was ever effective.
Oh, yeah. That is very discouraging. We love the Internet, but there are certain problems that we all face with it. Right now we're going to hear another song from Sarantos, Back and Forth. We've been listening to the eclectic, energizing, and exciting Sarantos. I hope all of you will become socially fit. It's been wonderful having you on the show. Last night we had Sherry Payne, former lead singer with the Supremes. She signed with a label at 24 and regretted it. What are your thoughts about signing with a label?
At this point, I don't think it's for me. And again, I'm not trying to say that I might not find a fit with one in a few years, but I think the key thing would have to be that I could still donate money to charity, and I wouldn't really want them to take that away from me. obviously the advantage would be that they could put you on a bigger stage and market you, which
sure.
ultimately you could probably raise a lot more money for charity that way. But, on the flip side, I also want to be able to be creative. I know eventually they'll tell me to hire some marketing agency to take care of all the social media and interact with the fans and tell you what to wear and what to sing. So I would really not want to do that. And I'm hoping that if I ever do that, hopefully I'll have gotten big enough before that where I can have the flexibility and the fans that support me, that they will enable me to do whatever I want.
Well, I'm hoping that you will come back on our show again, and I would love to share your music with our listeners. I'm sure we will get a wonderful response to this show. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. Anytime.
To my wonderful listeners, we hope you've enjoyed the show today. Hasn't this been wonderful? It's been a little different and very, very exciting. This is a show where you hear inspiring information that will help you to become successful too.